Joining me now, one of the great congresswomen we have, Harriet Hageman from the great state of Wyoming. Harriet, I think this is wonderful. Politically, obviously it's terrible for the country and I want to cry, but politically this is fantastic. This is who these people are sticking up for.
Hi, Jesse, and I agree with you. I just am stunned that this is where we are in this country. Historically, judges have always deferred to the president and the executive branch when it comes to national security and foreign policy. And yet here we have a situation where a federal district court judge here in the Washington, D.C. area is making such decisions without all of the information. It's clear when you read the act that the president is relying upon that he has the authority to do this, yet you have a judge, again, second-guessing those decisions in a way that is really usurping not only the president's authority, but the authority of every other district court judge in the United States, every appellate court judge in the United States, and essentially the Supreme Court. So it's a bizarre situation that we're living in. It's a bizarre time, but we are just going to have to fight through this and make sure that we can restore constitutional and regular order.
Harriet, you were not on the Supreme Court, sadly. I actually wish you were. But you were not on the Supreme Court, so you don't have the authority to make them do things. But why won't they do things? Like, this seems like such an obvious thing. We can't have lower court judges assuming the office of the presidency and stopping everything he's doing. You can't even have a country that way. Where's SCOTUS?
I actually wish that they would step forward and address this situation, and I think that they absolutely could do that. Nationwide injunctions are a rarity for a reason. The under Article 3 of the Constitution, under Article 1 of the Constitution, Congress has the authority to create such lower courts as are necessary. The only one that is mentioned in the Constitution is, in fact, the Supreme Court. So the 600 plus district court judges are actually created, and we created this system through the congressional process. But what is happening is that this judge in DC is dictating policy for Texas and Louisiana and California and Montana and Wyoming, and that's not the way the court system was set up. It was set up so that the district court judges address the discrete issues in front of them related to the individual parties that are in front of them. So this judge is not only far exceeding his authority, but you look at what he's doing in terms of stepping into international policy, international relationships, national security issues, and just across the board, it is such an incredible abuse of discretion.
Harriet, where's the best place to eat on Capitol Hill? I've been back there so many times, and I always hate it. And the food is dreadful. It's just for that many people and that much money. I mean, all they do is swindle our money. They can't invest in any kind of decent restaurants.
I don't know if I can answer the question about the best place to eat. I like to cook, so I tend to go home and cook at night.
I bet it's delicious. Okay, you were, this whole hearing we just watched was part of a judicial overreach hearing. What else did you learn today?
So, Jesse, one of the other things that I think is really important for people to understand is that these judges who are issuing these injunctions, whether they are nationwide injunctions or they are limiting them to the folks to the parties in front of them, under Rule 65, it is mandatory that the plaintiff seeking an injunction must post a bond that will cover the costs associated with issuing that injunction if it is later found that it was improperly issued. So when you talk about leaving, say, for example, you just saw a judge in California issued an injunction saying that they could not remove the temporary status of people who are here from Venezuela. Just the housing costs associated with that could be in millions of dollars. And yet you have a district court judge, when he issued that order, he never required any bonding. And I'm getting very frustrated with the fact that the people who are doing this, that are seeking these nationwide or even local injunctions, they are not complying with the rules. The judges are not complying with the rules. And I also think what is significant about that is if they actually did have to post a bond, they would most likely limit these injunctions to their specific districts so that they weren't in the tens of millions of dollars with the impact that would be felt nationwide. So one of the other things that we learned in this hearing is that Boasberg, when he issued this injunction, he probably violated the rules and the laws related to habeas corpus. He violated the issues associated with only deciding cases that are within his jurisdiction, meaning the parties in front of him who have standing to come into his court. There's also a question, as I've said, he didn't require any kind of a bond. There's also a question as to how he actually certified the class, turning this into a class action in less than 6 hours after the complaint was filed. So if you go down the line of everything that he was supposed to do, he's done an absolutely terrible job in terms of addressing the question in front of him. And so for that reason, you have to understand, I believe you can only come to one conclusion, and that conclusion is it was a political decision.
Well, he seemed like such an upstanding guy. I'm just shocked. Congresswoman, thank you. I appreciate you very much. Please keep it up.
Thanks, Jesse.
All right.